You, dear reader, are an old hand at the gender matching game. No doubt about it. From a tender age, you have guessed the gender of countless humans whose bodies are covered by clothes, coming to conclusions based on the gender you believe corresponds to the shape of genitals you believe match up with the remaining exposed parts of their bodies. And you have lived your lives in certainty, believing the result of your deductions to be true. The problem is, however, that you do not acknowledge the mistakes you have made and will continue to make. No one knows that the game itself is a mistake. Oh, I do apologize. I have yet to reveal my gender, leaving you, my dear reader, trembling with anxiety. How cruel. Well then, I will alleviate your anxiety. I'll now give you succor. Shall I put you at ease? Shall I ease your mind? I will relieve you. I am female.
Another good starting quote would be, quote, "The cock and balls are a delicacy that must be kept in ice water. Then, when ready to eat, sliced fresh like sashimi and dipped in either soy sauce with wasabi or gochujang and vinegar." So either way is quite good.
Where is the lie? Where is
I am
the lie?
always saying this.
What do we know? What does we? How are the union and the socialist be? Everything I can need, oh I need, oh I need, oh I need, oh what does me? Oh what does me? Oh what does me? Oh what do me? Oh,
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen and other beings, to
Aliens of
another
sorts.
Aliens of Female Gender. Welcome back to another episode of Workers Lit, where we battle for the narrative. Jacob, Lenore, how are y'all doing today?
My tech is being really annoying to me, and that's after a day of my tech being really annoying to me at work. So if I sound like I'm calling in from Mars, that would be why. But I'm okay, holding it down. And Lenore, you just like got in the door from a trip, so like, I mean, we're all just running all over the place.
Yeah, I'm not running on fumes, but I've certainly been on the road all day. I also, I guess the opposite of being on Mars is, being underground. I spent part of this weekend in a cave, so, there's that.
Absolutely.
And listeners, we have a guest, returning champion, Lee Mandelo. How is it going, Lee?
Hi, pretty good. I'm glad to be talking about this super weird book with you guys today.
Yes, Lee, you will remember, was with us for our Melusine episode, another super weird gay book with
in a different way.
Yeah, in a different way. But yeah, this is one of the weirder ones we've done this week.
Before we get into it, Lee, we've talked about your work on the show before, but would you plug the kind of stuff that you're up to, where people can find you? I hear you may have a nominated piece of work that you are editor for. People are not saying for sure that it got its nomination because you plugged it on this show, but I mean, no, I'm kidding, of course. Amplitudes and all other kinds of stuff you've worked on. Please let folks know about it.
Yeah, so that's been some pretty good news. And Aisha is also in Amplitude, Stories of Queer and Trans Futurity, which we got the long list for the Otherwise Award, which is for gender and science fiction, and just the Locus shortlist. So fingers crossed, it'd be pretty sick to win a Locus Award, and it's cool to be nominated regardless. What else? I also have the paperback for Woods All Black finally coming out this November because people love it. So we finally get to have it not in a hardcover.
Let's go.
I have multiple testimonies from various friends and relatives that that book is tearing up book clubs right now. So you're happy to see its profile grow.
Yeah, I've gotten a bunch of fun emails from book clubs who are like, "Hey, you want to answer a couple of questions for us?" And I've been doing my level best to answer those emails. Like, sure, what do you got? Fire me a couple because it's so cool. Like, absolutely, sure.
Yeah. What is it? If I had $1 for every time we covered a book about sacrificing a bunch of Christian fundamentalists in order to become a boy, well, I would still only have $2, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Jacob, you had that theory that this is like the same universe, right? Woods All Black and
Woods All Black, Black Flame, and now Walking Practice, all same universe. There's going to be the queer monster Avengers is going to be a thing we see coming after the fall of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The queer monster cinematic universe will rise. And an important figure in that is the author today, the creator of this book. We're talking about Walking Practice by Dolki Min. And I'm going to tell you right now, this person is not a particularly like super public person. So I'm going to give an author bio, but it's going to be limited to the things that he has publicly shared about himself. I did wanted to respect boundaries and stuff. There have been people who've done deeper dives, but they shouldn't do that. That's not a cool thing to do to people we like. So I'm going to share just things that he has been willing to share about himself with the press, with blurbs, and on his social media. But it gives us good context, I think. Dolki Min is an author and illustrator who, like I said, prefers to stay largely anonymous. That is not his real name, and we do not need to know what his real name is. He wears a mask of a very in public. He has a variety of masks he wears now. His Korean Herald photo shoot is really good because it's like a very kind of animated human looking mask, which is pretty cool.
There's some good leather ones too. There's a vibe.
Yes.
It's a different vibe than the Chuck Tingle vibe.
Yes. On Instagram and at book events, he often appears in the masks. Some were human, some were leather, BDSM-ish. On Instagram, someone asked, "Why don't you have a signature one?" And he replied, "Is it not bad that the masks keep increasing?" Or is it? So, there you go. This book was originally published in its first edition online in 2017 in Korean. Dolki Min is from South Korea. And again, it was online. It was not in its current form, but it did have the illustrations that went along with it because Dolki Min does illustrations. Victoria Cottle, a translator, who would become the translator, read it in 2018, became obsessed, reached out to Dolki Min. They formed a bond over the internet and made connection there. It was published by a Korean press in 2022. And he landed a contract with HarperCollins so quickly that he said he thought it was a scam because he was HarperCollins reached out and was like, "Can we publish your book as an indie author in the United States?" And he was like, "I've never reached out to these people. This is a fucking scam." But no, it was real. HarperCollins wanted to publish his book in the United States. The book has 19 illustrations in it. They're all by him. And I've pulled a few quotes from his interview with the Korea Herald, which is one of the only interviews he's ever given publicly, where he said, "When I was young, I was scolded and teased for walking like a girl, and it led me to think about what it means to walk right. The alien is constantly conscious of its walk so as to blend into society. I thought of walking as practicing at becoming human. I'm drawn to stories of alien creatures. I loved the Alien series, and one of my favorite movies is Under the Skin." Yeah, we could tell. "Which is about an otherworldly creature who hunts humans to survive. I wanted to create a character who's eccentric and unpredictable." Then he goes on and he says, "The alien has a fluid body that keeps changing, so I drew imagining the changes in shape according to the state it is in or the emotions that it feels." He further said that he has spent a lot of time struggling with depression. He says he often feels a boiling with passion and anger, and at the same time, a thirst for praise, and at the same time, a deep loneliness, but also not really much of a desire to see anyone. And he said he felt like dating apps might be the key to fixing this, and found that that's not the case, but he sure did come up with some cool ideas. And he said he was also very scared of serial killers. He also talked at some length about wanting to oppress partners sexually and be cool for them before realizing, oh wait, these are just random losers on the internet. But so it's this back and forth of feeling lonely, wanting someone to praise him, but then wanting to be good enough. He is now working on a new novel about something to do with animals. The Korea Herald asked him, "Will this time it be a healing story for queer people?" And he said, "No, I have no interest in healing stories or anything with redemption."
Wow, he just like me for real.
Yeah.
So I thought that was sick. You can find him on Instagram. He's mostly just posting "Hey, a new translation of my book just dropped." But if you want to see the masks and stuff, you can go check it out on there. And that's I don't know if any of y'all have any supplementary information, but that's what seemed like the appropriate to share that I could find.
Yeah, that's the one interview that has been translated. And I think that'll be something we end up talking about a lot, is the nature of transnational art when you don't speak or read the language most of this is published in, and how that adds this layer for all of us, I would say.
Yes. And I did look at some other interviews that were in Korean and try and do like Google Translate, but they were the nuances weren't captured well enough that I felt like it was anything that I could share, and it wasn't any like biographical stuff that was useful for me, so I left that out. Well, you suggested this book, Lee. What brought you to it? What made you think we should talk about walking practice?
Yeah. So I first read this when it came out because I really enjoy reading queer lit in translation. It gives you a very different perspective than a lot of what we're doing, and it was science fiction, so that's kind of a double feature. I think I had discovered it because I had just read Love in the Big City and was looking into like Anton Hur as a translator, and I think he had posted something about this maybe, but now it's, in the hindsight of memory, I think that's it. But I picked it up and I read it in like one sitting, and it really did a lot for me in terms of disability, like queer embodiment, trans embodiment, and a specific kind of like a queer perspective on the world that one understands as like faggotry, perhaps, in a way, particularly where the book goes by the end, but as like a gendered experience in a heteronormative society of like specifically cis heteropatriarchal gender sexuality, where femininity is part of it. Also, there's a lot going on. And I read it a few more times. I just kept going back to it. I think it was my favorite maybe book the year that it came out. And then as we were talking about like what else could we talk about, I think you guys just did Black Flame, which ruled, and that was also a book where I was like, I could talk about that one for a bit. And then I think a day or two later I was like, wait, no, I know what book I want to do. It's this one, because I think not a lot of people read it. I didn't see a lot of discussion of it when it came out, even in like the queer space, the SF space, the crossover. So I wanted more people to find it. And then I will gently anonymize this thing that happened, because I won't, name names. But there was a review that a like cis woman who writes a lot of slash like romance novels posted of this book that was like really dismissive. It was like, I don't get it. Why did people like this kind of vibe? And I got so incandescently angry, which is something that doesn't, I try to be cool, but I couldn't be cool about that. I was like, oh, maybe it's because you didn't get it. Like, for real, though. And I kind of wanted to dig in a little more there. And like, what is this book doing in the queer SF space that I think maybe people could use more of and to pay more attention to?
Mm-hmm.
You could have just responded with the meme of those people being like, we horny, keep scrolling.
Or that he's not for you, Rocky.
Yeah.
Rocky horror meme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the only thing I had seen about this book prior to you suggesting it was at one point, a friend of mine posted in a group chat how your email finds me, and it was the art for the front cover. So, and I didn't get that at the time, but now that's a great joke. So I would like to shout out to my friend for making that great joke that I only now get like a year and a half later.
That's really good.
Yeah, as far as like the illustrations go, that's the first thing that leaps out at me, right? Because there's what, like 19 or 20 of these line illustrations that are, as it happens, life forms that are incomprehensible to humans. And this is like, in terms of like media that shows us like bizarre and incomprehensible things, this is like, this does that the best in my experience, right? There's no attempt to analogize what we see to like any life form that we're aware of. It is totally divorced from anything like quadrupedal, anything bipedal, like any life form that we are used to seeing. And that's what this book does really well, is divorcing it from divorcing the experience of our protagonist, who is an alien, from the everyday of you or I in all ways other than the superficial.
They do look very cuddly, though. Like, all of the pictures, I'm like, they're like, oh, no human could ever love me. I was like, I don't know. I feel like there's some girlies online who might. Like, I'm kind of like, out of the way, gay boy.
Did y'all see? Did y'all ever see that show that ran from 2000 to 2002 on Nickelodeon that was called Maggie and the Ferocious Beast?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was imagining the Ferocious Beast for a lot of this.
Because it's got the polka dots. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the polka dots and the horns on its head. I know that one's a lot less weird, but deep pull, but if anybody's a real 2000 to 2002 Nickelodeon head listening, I know y'all are out there. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Well, it should be noted too. Like I said, we have translation of this book as well, which is a very important thing, especially for a book that plays with form this much, because this is a book that in its original version is doing a lot with with the Korean language and like the way it's spaced on the page and things like that. And so Victoria Cottle did not have to just adapt the words, right? She also had to adapt the language itself, and she talks about this in a thing at the end on the notes from a translator, where she first talks about how much she was moved by the book, but then she talks about how she wanted to deal with the sensual, the sensory. Says there's a lot of texture verbs and onomatopoeia that were difficult to convey into English. She said the challenge was very difficult, so she started to do typeface work that a lot of people asked if they were errors in her typography. And she's like, no, this is reflecting the mental state. So at times, especially when when Mumu, who we don't learn the name of until like the last couple of pages, Mumu, our alien, is like having like a weird time, like and tired or like woozy or whatever, the text will stretch out. There'll be long spaces. It'll be, paragraph breaks in weird places, things like that. There's a lot of playing with form, usually to show like either like sleepiness or drowsiness or like kind of that sunken feeling, which I think is interesting.
I think the words start getting gooey when they're not in their human disguise, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, when the human disguise is falling apart, the words kind of fall apart, yes.
Yeah, crucially, when they're in a space where they don't have to perform humanity.
Right. Though it can happen sometime when they're like very tired going up the steps and then their like body starts to kind of slough.
Yeah.
But like
I was like, I understand how that feels.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the physicality is really something in a lot of ways in this that I really enjoyed. And I can't even imagine trying to translate like a work done that way, because as Caudle discusses, it's the way the verbs work. Like you can mix up words in a sentence in Korean, but because of the markers of like what those words are, you could still understand the sentence. But because of how English works, you wouldn't be able to understand the sentence anymore at all, instead of it just being scrambled sort of for you. And that's something that I really was impressed very deeply by as like the work of a translator. And I also thought their note about having to look up as many synonyms as they could for all the words for like dick and pussy was really funny, but also real, is because I've done some of the like localization style editing for sex scenes in some gay historical Chinese fantasy novels recently.
Hell yeah.
And sometimes that's hard because our slang for sex is so particular language wise that you really can't just directly translate things the same way. You have to find the vibe.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how unsexy words for genitals that are sexy in other languages sound in your language.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I also have to note, we have, according to Spotify statistics, an average of 12 to 15 Korean listeners per episode, which is not a lot, but that means statistically there are a few of you listening. So some of y'all maybe read the book in both versions because, clearly you understand English at least a little bit. And if you read English, read it in both versions and email us. Let us know your experience reading it in both versions. I'd be genuinely curious to hear that. So
I would love
shout out to President Kim and then the rest of our Korean listeners as well. I'm sure.
Lee, it's interesting that you mentioned that, and I think I know who you're talking about, but we can talk about it afterwards. It's interesting that people would be like, I don't get it, because as experimental and queer and interesting as this book is, it's very classic sci-fi book.
Sure.
It is Kafka-esque. It is I am an alien is a very hard sci-fi 1975 type thing. So this is not in any way out there in any way except maybe the gender presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like some very basic stuff about like, yes, cruising is complicated and often involves violence, but you want it, but it can happen anyway, and we'll get there as we work through the book. But there's just some like 101 level stuff that I thought it was handling really effectively and well that it bewildered me deeply. To be like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
if anyone had told me about the amount of times I would have had to explain cruising to younger queers, I don't know. I don't know if I would have signed up to be an older queer.
Listen, some of us learn from an older queer. Some of us just go to Midtown, the pool in Midtown Atlanta when we're 19 and see what happens. And sometimes that can be a formative experience.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, not that I'm speaking for anyone here. Anyway, yeah, and also Aisha, you noted Kafka-esque. This book is a lot of metamorphosis vibes. Getting real metamorphosis vibes for real from this book, no doubt. But to frame up what this is about, because this is not an extremely plot-heavy book. This is a book where you have basically a premise, and the premise repeats itself a few times in kind of different incarnations towards a sort of a final moment. But basically what you have is you have an alien. The alien's name is Mumu, but we don't know that until the very end, who was genderless, or maybe has gender, but beyond our understanding, right? From their planet was blown up in some kind of Krypton style thing, or there was some kind of invasion. They crash landed on Earth. They cannot leave. And the only thing on Earth that they can eat that makes them feel like actually like livable sustenance wise is humans. The gravity on Earth is 8 times stronger than gravity on their planet, so they have real difficulty moving around. They are of incomprehensible form. We will describe them briefly in a second here, even though it will not make it easier for you to really picture them. And they have the ability to pull themselves into various human skin suits and perform humanity, be that as a woman, be that as a man, be that as, gay, straight, like all these different things, these different, and they basically are going on the dating apps, cruising, things like that, picking up people, having really good sex with them, it seems like. Seems like they're doing a very good job at having sex with them. And then at the moment of orgasm are biting their heads off and then frying the rest of their body. Did I frame that up pretty well?
Am I right, ladies?
Yeah. I mean, Black Widow, a Black Widow fetish, basically. Yeah.
Listen, it's the through trial and error, this is how our protagonist has figured out how not to leave a mess, right? Just suck out all the blood, like until there's just a husk. You don't have to lay down a tarp.
Yeah, very American Psycho of them.
Yeah. If Patrick Bateman was, never mind. I was going to say Patrick Bateman was queer, but he is. But anyway, go ahead.
There's like the through-going element too of how they categorize the kinds of people they want to go for, where it's like people without other attachments, like people who are also lonely, who aren't going to really want much more from them than this. Like there's a couple of people you learn that they hook up with more than once, and that actually causes problems. It's what gets us to the end eventually, is like remembering that humans have feelings and fear and all of these things they've been trying to avoid thinking about, but also the physical type. And that feels also like commentary to some extent for, the body standards in particularly, I think, gay, like hookup culture, but broadly everybody's. Like these are muscular people that they prefer who are kind of fit but not too skinny, like needs to have a little meat on their bones, but can't be too big either, because like they're not super into the person who they hook up with, who they call like an elephant. Like there's all of these things that are going.
Although he seems like the best at sex of everybody that they have sex with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's like the layer of the character and the layer of Min, like writing, the two observances almost at the same time there. That's interesting.
There is a level of detachment and of like scientific curiosity that enables our protagonist, right, to there's no like hang-ups, there's no preferences, call it what you will, like there's no prejudices informing like how you would or would not approach a particular sexual encounter. It's very necessarily mechanical by virtue of the literal alienation that we see here.
Mhm.
Right. They
And-
say they don't want to have sex with anyone too big because that's too much meat to drag out of there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And you know, the gravity plays a very big role in this as well. It's called walking practice because Mumu has to perform being a human, perform the gender of the human that they are trying to be, and move around in this world that is too much gravity for them on 2 legs, whereas they should be walking on 3 or 4 legs, depending, because they said I have 3 legs and something you'd call an arm that I would also call a leg. So, you know, if that helps, there you go. Um, and so, like, I mean, at the very beginning, they're going to a hookup and they're like, okay, this guy's on the 16th floor and the elevator's not working. And I'm like, I'm mad at that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that dick better be effervescent. It better be
Yeah.
the best dick of my life.
And the guy replies, it was like, okay, make sure you jump in the shower as soon as you got here. It seems disgusting that you had to walk up 16 floors. I'm like, okay, we've been fully won over to killing this guy, right?
Yeah.
This is a wonderful paragraph that I'll share with it, which is where our protagonist is at. Take your time, I'll be waiting. That's the guy. Take my time, you'll be waiting. It's raining, I'm in a terrible mood, and this man is just begging to die. If perchance he chooses me as his mode of suicide, I will make him regret that decision down to the core of his marrow. The physical pain I will inflict will be so exquisite that he will lose himself in the sweet reality. As soon as he cries out for help, I will end him. I end my fantasy to focus on the task at hand. I don't know how to take his fucking joke of a response. He definitely won't come down to the first floor. But do you think if I asked, he'd beat me on the 8th and give me a piggyback ride? It would even suffice if he'd get behind me and push. And if he won't do that, should I try asking if we could go to a nearby love hotel? That sounds reasonable. It's weirdly human, this response, right? Because this, you know, obviously, yeah, we want this guy dead, but also, like Mumu here is balancing it with, okay, but also the prospect of good dick.
Yeah.
Right.
And specifically, it's an 8-inch dick.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
very
we know that.
specifically. We know
Yeah,
what makes it worthwhile.
Also, just like the relatability as everybody has hooked up with somebody who's kind of an asshole.
Sure.
But yeah, it's very, very relatable. I love that they'll just be like, "Fuck, shit, god damn it!"
Mhm.
like this, as I imagine, like tiny woman, like trying to drag herself up 16 flights of stairs while like yelling.
Yeah. I mean, the stairs and the walking generally, I think, are part of one of the things that hit me so much about this book, which I think I mentioned when we started, was the way of interacting with it as someone with a physical disability. It's like particularly like a chronic pain condition that in my, you know, special exciting case, my joints don't hold together quite right. So there was really a lot with, I had this heavy backpack, this station is inaccessible. Like I have to walk up all of these stairs while everyone around me can do that just fine. And they're impatient and they're bumping into me. And I look on the outside like a hale, healthy, non-disabled young person. So there's no assumption that I might need the seat on the train. Like there's none of those things. And also when their body starts to slip, like it doesn't look perfect anymore, the way that is handled for like how people around them are immediately disgusted and the way that we treat like visibly disabled people. I was flipping. It's like a couple of pages in where they're describing the first time they like tried to ride on a bus and thought they were good, but then the bus takes off and they fall and like nobody helps them. And they say, before I could even catch my breath, the bus driver stomped on the accelerator and I tumbled to the back and got wedged under the bench. I was coated in dirt and sweat and droplets of blood. Shocked, I couldn't move a muscle, nor did I have the leisure to feel shame. The driver swore like nothing I'd heard before, and the other passengers jeered. They didn't even try to help. It never crossed their minds to reach out a hand, grab me by the tentacle, and pull me up. I was in far too disgusting of a state to arouse sympathy and a willingness to help. The high degree of concentration required to maintain my human-like form was in tatters. My eyeballs drifted in opposite directions, my arms and legs contorted, and my abdomen swelled up like a balloon. They must have been thinking, if only you were just a little less repulsive, I would step forward and lend a hand.
Yeah, they keep, they're I love the swings, like the swings between like complete alien thoughts and like very, very relatable thoughts, like the when they start talking about how delicious people are, but then they're like, sometimes I'm sad when people don't want to talk to me. I'm like, oh, girl, same.
Yeah, and I mean, even going up this original flight of 16 steps, they have like an older woman who's kind of a busybody be like, "What are you doing, dear? Which building where do you live in? Why are you sitting on the step? Why do you have to take a breather?" Like, this lady seems like she's maybe trying to be nice, but just this irritating kind of thing from this person who doesn't want to be seen, but does want to be seen and really wants interaction. You know, it even says, they were like, they say like, oh, occasionally I'll have a moment where I want to love someone. I want to imagine a life with them. You know, when they have sex with this guy before eating them, they imagine this long date that the two of them went on, and then exactly how that date would fail and exactly how it would be impossible. They remember one of the last people they ate, which was apparently a woman that kept saying "I love you" between eating their ass, and they were like, "What was she trying to tell my colon? I'm confused." But you know, but
was,
like,
what
but
was-
they
what
also
was
want
the,
that. They like have that very strange, like that relationship to the self that is an alienation from humanity. That, you know, obviously reflects a lot of people's experience.
Mhm.
Even in this sense, it is, you know, an alien.
and in such a, you know, there is that degree of alienation that makes possible a really intriguing blend of the sacred and the profane, in terms of like how like bodies work and what things are for, but also just like stuff that makes sense like in the moment between you and like your partner or partners, and at no other time. Like that specific part you mentioned. She cleaved to my palpitating shithole, turning it into an ear and lips to receive her love. Again, if you're sharing that with somebody, that means something very, you know, very deep and affecting in the moment.
And I mean, it is deep infecting for our character, even if they're kind of mocking it and they're like, whatever, because multiple times they like kind of flash back to that, or just will say, I love you to someone, even if they're in the middle of killing them.
Yeah. And like specifically what they're always doing is like what they spend their days doing is hunting people. So like the sort of like the way, the amount of people that they need to seduce and chop up in order to stay, like, because it seems like that like a full human doesn't sustain them for very long. Like they have to
Doesn't seem
eat a
like
lot
it.
of people. And the sort of like resonance of that with when you are of a certain kind, like there's like a certain kind of marginalization where either by like your own like self-imposed limits or because of the place that you live, the possibility of something like deeper is not possible. So if you want any sort of intimacy, you have to just spend all of this time finding people to have sex with, and it's like soul crushing, or it can be.
Well, we then have, you know, we see their little den, which is their crash landed spaceship in the woods. And it is the place where the text gets all stretched out and funny with it. They are in their true form, which I'm going to describe the true form now. We've alluded to it. My skin is rough like a dinosaur's with red spots stamped on a yellow base. The hair covering my body is blue as the morning sky, and my eyes, like two full moons, push a nut through to view the glittering world. And on my forehead is a jet black shield made of bone studded with horns, which, if I used all my strength, could take down 2 or 3 humans. But I mostly use it to bash out my stress by thrusting it into the tree trunks of the forest. When the birds fly away and the leaves fall like rain, it really lifts my spirits. I have 3 legs and 1 arm on my right side. Actually, if you would look at them as a human would, it's an arm, but to me, it's not a true arm, but a 4th leg. So that makes the bump curved like a hook, what you humans would call a toenail. But there aren't any toenails on my 1st, 2nd, and 3rd legs. On the underside of my feet are slippery tunnels from which offspring slide out. Sometimes I send out clots of blood like rotten milk from here as well. Have you gotten the gist of what I look like? Am I a being that always requires friendly explanation? If I do not explain, no one understands me. Only beings like myself must provide explanation. The demanding you, the demand of me. You are the default life form. You are the center of the universe. It must be so nice.
Such a trans book in so many ways. That has a page flag in mine also.
I also can't, like, again, I'm like, what do you mean you don't get it? Like, Even if you're not trans, I feel like it's pretty obvious what this book is about.
I mean, I saw some people online. I did find like a number of people online that I chose not to share the reviews of because it just wasn't that interesting, but saying the same thing. They were like, what is this getting at? What's the arc? What are we? And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to remember there's like a lot of straight people, and it's hard. It's hard for me when I have to remember that that's a thing. It happens. It's like, oh, right. Huh, okay. But also I do feel like it's not that hard to connect with, I think, in the way that it's explored, particularly the sense of having to force your body into the shape that is the most appealing to get like any attention at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that desire to look like what is hegemonically normal or desirable and always falling short.
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter how much work you put into it, how like painful and difficult it is, it's never going to be quite enough, or it's not going to hold together the right way. And particularly I think as we get to the bits where they're talking about like, what does it mean to perform womanhood? And then, like, to be a man, you have to do the opposite of those things.
Yeah, just don't
Like,
be a woman.
Yeah.
A fun section that's just a long description of what it means to be a woman, and then says, and if you're a man, don't do any of that. Which goes along well with Dolki Min's own experience, talking about being a young boy and being told you walk like a girl, and he's like, what the hell does that mean, right? Like, what are you talking about?
And the self-consciousness, right, of knowing if your body is giving you away. It's like, I think about that particularly like moving through the world as someone who's trans, but also common experience to most queer people at some point is like, can they tell by looking at me? Because the answer is yes, a lot of the time, particularly for those swishy kids, like who everybody kind of knew all along. And that can be such like a difficult, painful experience for a lot of people. And it's dangerous. But also it's like beautiful.
One thing that caught me while listening to this, and then, listening to you talk, reading this, reading the interviews, is I was like a kid that had a lot of traits as a kid that were very much like worked out of me that I no longer really have. That I do like wonder, I'm like, oh, so would I have walked different? Would I have naturally, whatever? Like I remember very specifically, and and it's no knock on like my parents or anything or anybody. It's just them living in their world. But they were like, oh, don't stand with your hip like that. Don't stand with like your hands like that. Or like, it's just stuff that I did. I remember as a kid, just like I would like to like stand with, like, again, it's not a gay thing inherently to stand with one hand on your hip, like cocked out, but they're like, oh, that's a way girls stand. Like, I remember that very specifically. And I think some queer people in certain ways, like, push back against that. And for me, like, I assimilated to the level that like people get shocked when they hear that I'm gay. At least that like know me in the real world or whatever. And that was an interesting thing to me too. And it's also like, it's kind of got me like sad because I'm like, I don't even like, if I did do the other thing, I would be like a performance at this point. Like I have been like shoved into the skin suit. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there are parts of me that I've been, have loosened up through the years away from that. But that was like a thing that occurred to me on kind of a different way. That was very like, oh shit, sometimes the performance becomes reality, and like, what is your actual self? And I would challenge people, whether you're queer or not, to think about like how many things in your life, have been affected, like you away from kind of your truest self by, societal norms, I suppose. I mean, that doesn't just go for queer people, but it goes, times 10 for queer people and times 100 for trans people, I'd say.
Yeah.
To put stats on it, because I decided to put numbers on it for some reason. That's not a guesstimation. That is a hard fact. I will be sending the equations.
I'm min-maxing dysmorphia.
Okay, so next we go and we meet up with the woman who Mumu is taking the form of, like, I think like a more like schlubby guy that she like likes to degrade or whatever. And this is where we get Mumu like dealing with, oh God, I'm killing living things, aren't I? Fuck. That's that section of the book.
Cause they like fuck up doing their like big chomp or whatever, and they like chomp her hair instead, and then she like gets up. Yeah, she Yeah, her finishing. Just don't get the kill, the final kill, and then the woman like freaks out and starts fighting,
Yeah,
which is it's very unpleasant for them.
there is sort of that like constant like minor adjustment like from encounter to encounter that can sometimes slip you up, like, oh, like I feel like I was too like I came on too strong in this previous encounter. I'm going to be more aloof now, like previously, like this first person that Mumu kills, right? What happens? A bunch of hairballs get caught in their like digestion. So it's like, okay, I'm going to approach this slightly differently, and that's how like this person ultimately escapes through their window for however long that saves her.
When it's also like one of the people they've been hooking up with for a year. And I do think it's so interesting that this is like a chubby 21-year-old guy explicitly body to like this kind of MILF, like basically who like wants someone young and inexperienced and like who she can be like, I think it's her little sex piggy, like that's
Yeah.
the whole thing. Yeah. And that there is some intimacy there that is built though. It's like, even though this is my food, like this is someone I've been seeing, but also we kind of are starting to get to the point where we're bored of each other, but now it's just a habit to hook up. And I think that's such a specific kind of relationship that you can have with someone you know nothing about except when you meet up to fuck, and that's it. But you've done it enough because it works pretty good, but you don't really like each other. And yet that is still a deep intimacy that you have with this person, that it feels kind of fucked up to cut it off. Like, who's going to be the first one to say, I don't want to hook up anymore? It's somehow worse sometimes than a full-on breakup of like a dating relationship. To be like, well, sorry. And that is part of what happens because our Mumu is thinking about that and gets distracted and then misses the timing of the post-nut chomp. Because the goal is to do it at the moment, like after the person has come, before they're aware of their surroundings.
Yeah. I mean, like they literally, tell the woman, okay, I think I want to end it. And the woman's like, yeah, okay. And then Momo's like, and now I have to bite your head off. And the woman's like,
and they
wait,
totally
what?
beef it.
Yeah, real bad.
They fuck it up. I mean, the woman eventually dies, but it's after a horrible chase scene of getting bloodied, and the woman jumps out a window and is running on a broken ankle. And you have this moment where they're like, I don't want to think of humans, the things I eat, as things that want to live. I don't want to think of the things I eat as things that would run away. And Dolki Min mentioned that their next novel is like talking about animal rights is going to be a big part of it. So I'm not shocked to hear that, given the way that they frame this. That's not like a core part of the book, but that part I was like, oh, I could see how that would like translate into something else. But it's also just about like that empathy for, that empathy that you have to put down to survive a lot of the time, like just in the world, or at least how Mumu certainly has to put down the empathy to survive. But and they even say in this part, they have a flash of rage against humanity and said, it's as if I want to displace my unhappiness onto them, So there's also this blame for the humans around the humans around them, but yeah, they end up feeling like real shit for this.
Yeah, they'll hit you like they'll just like sort of just hit you with lines like, everyone around me, could you please be unhappy so I could be happy for once? And it's just like these like sort of intrusive thoughts that you have that just like fly by.
Aisha, you'll appreciate this. I was like, oh my god, the loathsome dung eater. That's the loathsome dung eater's ending in Elden Ring, is that he's like, my life sucks. I'm gonna make everybody like live my fucked up reality.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat everyone's soul out of their ass, and then they'll be sorry.
Getting real loathsome dung eater vibes here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Elden Ring. It always comes back to Elden Ring.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially now that they like announced the insane cast for the TV show.
Oh yeah, a bunch of production photos leaked. Well as apparently we have a release date, March 2028.
Wow. Well, yeah, I'm sure that'll be really good.
What if it is? It would be funnier if it was good.
Yeah, what if it was awesome? Anyway.
Speaking of which, this book has been optioned for a film, and I have no idea how they're doing that.
Oh, shit.
Wow. I know that's not the conversation, but
do you know what? I have no idea who who was involved in the production of this particular movie, but there's a short film called, are y'all familiar with Are We Not Cats?
Mm-mm.
I mean, I
Oh.
spend every day not being a cat, but like, no, not the title.
Well, of course, but like, so it's a guy and a girl, and like they hook up, and like I don't know if it goes both ways, but I remember that the girl is like obsessed with like consuming the guy's hair, right? And it's ultimately like about how like you can be in a relationship that on some level you both know is bad for you, but there's a phase of it where like you're both handing each other ladders to climb deeper into hell, right? And I feel like that's the vibe that movie sort of strikes is very, very similar to what's on display here, right? Knowing that in some sense, like you're so alienated and you've given up on like any connection that doesn't have an expiration date, and you're sort of buried in the and you're sort of buried in the pathos of that, or the spaces between the pathos of that. That's I have to find out like who did that movie, and then see if they read this book.
Well,
Because they do mention sometimes our beloved Moo Moo that back home, like everyone's body is like their body
Yeah.
in different ways. Like they had lovers and family and friends and all of this, and that desire for someone like you, like as we'll get to in a little bit, doesn't always work out either.
Mhm.
And I
No.
think there's something really resonant from like the very queer trans alien book about that. Of like,
yeah.
Mhm.
you know,
Well, and as well, like this eventually, right? The contradiction in what you think you're looking for and what like you actually need does have to resolve. I would be remiss in not mentioning the insofar as there are chapters in this book, the sections are broken up and named thus, like 56 kilometers, 21 kilometers, 0.9 kilometers, getting like closer and closer and closer, right? And what that's about is Moo Moo's like personal rule that like, okay, don't hook up with / eat anybody like within like 3 kilometers of my dwelling place, right?
Mm.
And eventually that the requirement is stretched and broken.
Yeah, they break their
because-
rule.
Yeah, exactly, because it becomes too much of a hassle to maintain.
Before we get into that, the Moo Moo cuts off a dude's hand on the subway.
Let's go.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
He
Yeah.
tries to touch
for-
up their skirt.
yeah, for groping them.
And this is while they're in their woman disguise. This is after giving their kind of longer woman explanation monologue and saying, I am a womanly woman wearing a blouse, skirt, and heels. As a womanly woman, I carefully climb the iron staircase I've built to practice on, which is really funny.
I've
My
had to
womanly
my
woman
thoughts.
ass cheeks bob up and down like a buoy floating in the ocean. Even I think I look elegant. I should be holding a basket and scattering flower petals in front of me as I walk down the stairs. Love that.
That would be quite affirming.
Oh yeah, happy for them. And
Who out here
as
feeling
said,
like a womanly woman with their ass cheeks bobbing
Yeah,
like a.
like a
and also
buoy.
they then immediately take off the high heels. They're just
Yeah.
like, am I looking to fall down the stairs and die? No. And they
Yeah,
put
that's
on,
me
like,
with high
sandals
heels. I'm
instead.
like, wow, I feel so sexy. Anyway,
My ankles.
yeah.
Yeah, they say, please forgive me, my body. I've put on some low-heeled sandals for you.
Word.
And yeah, they
really.
cut a man's hand off on the subway, and they get excited that they're able to get away with it because it's like, oh, this old man, like no one expected I would be able to do this because I'm such a womanly woman. I did it. I performed gender. Hell yeah. And so they're so mad that they have to perform gender, right? They're so pissed about that. But when they successfully perform gender, when people are impressed by the performance of gender, they like get this elation. They get this rush. They're like, I did it. I did it for
Right.
everybody.
Because
And
you're
that's the
supposed
interesting
to,
contradiction.
yeah, you're supposed to flawlessly perform womanhood, but you're not supposed to try, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Like a woman who visibly is trying is unattractive.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the fact that like as much as they resent the system of gender, they get a rush out of doing it right and getting that like tepid approval from people they've never seen and will never see again.
Right. I have to be the hottest person at the Walmart. That vibe.
I must be the most fuckable person on this subway. Yes.
Yeah.
Now that I've slung my bag across my shoulders to finish my disguise, I'm camera ready. When I leave the house, unseen cameras will start shooting me. I've got to get my head on straight.
Yeah.
That whole section, I was just flipping to that too, where they're listing all of the types of camera, and you were like, oh, it's just like being observed by all of society at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's, a pretty familiar feeling, I think, increasingly these days.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm always being observed and judged for the body that is in the world. Like, what are people seeing and recording of my body?
What is it? Ways of seeing was what's his name? Berger, who says a woman is not, a woman doesn't see, a woman sees herself being seen.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
And I think it's also interesting that Dolki Min wears a mask in public, right? When he is his author persona, when he does events, when he gives interviews. So that connects very much to what we know about him. Is this a desire to escape that constant like camera situation in the same way, in a different way than this character does, of course. That's him doing a cool thing with like agency and creating an author persona, an artist persona. But it's also interesting though.
Also, I'm not an expert on this by any means. Like, I've never been to South Korea, but I know that the beauty standards there are insane. Like if women going outside without makeup on, I know is like kind of frowned on.
Yeah.
I mean, have any of us been to Korea?
Briefly. But
that makes you the expert, Lee.
There's also an element of, oh no. Well, the element of things from like needing to get various kinds of, cosmetic work done to get a job, like is not just for women. That is a across the fucking board thing. But I'm particularly thinking about if you're queer, if you're gender nonconforming, if you're trans, like the complexity of passing and like the desire. Like, what does that desire mean for you? Like, it's not a desire you feel good about, usually. Right. Like, even if it's a desire that's partially for safety, partially for that social cohesion, it's a million things at once. Even as, I can love my trans body, etc., I can still be aware of how it is marked when I'm, like, going in a bathroom in Kentucky, like in a public gas station. Like, I'm just aware of it constantly and aware of other people being aware of it. And like, I don't know, something about how the alien, our beloved Mumu, has to arrange their bones and stuff. And that you get one line. They're like, don't assume this is easy for me. Like, you might think I can just shapeshift between these forms, but it hurts. Like, I'm having to break all my bones and move all my flesh in this way that they shouldn't be, like to hold together this thing for you.
Yeah, and even in less consequential, even in smaller sort of ways, like aspects of your appearance that aren't ideal for you, that may not even be like a primary source of dysphoria, but nevertheless there is a disconnect between how you perceive it and how the rest of the world perceives it. Like there's aspects of my appearance that people have commented on like positively that I have like I break down crying when somebody's like, "Oh, you look good with a side part." I fucking don't. Like I know what gives me dysphoria and what does not,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the complicatedness of all the hooking up with strangers and this too, right, really hits. Where you're like, unfortunately, that thing that you just said was really hot is the last thing I wanted you to comment on, and now we're still in it.
Yep.
I guess we're still doing it. Okay. like what do I do with that? What do you want me to do with that? And I think that's a through going like vibe emotionally in some of these scenes. I think we're almost there at the hookup that we talked about earlier with the person who's bigger than they expected, who tries to ghost them because that person, the human, is like ashamed. Is like,
yes.
you don't look like what your picture looks like. So you don't normally let anyone come over. You just chat. And then there's a conversation in there, like from Mumu to us about like genitals, basically. It is like, I don't actually know what to call what this person has. And like, it's hard for me to put together what I should have because I don't have any of these hangups on it. But if you put the wrong combination together, quote unquote, like people won't react well. And that's just such a small moment, but coming where it does in the book, I feel like that really hit pretty hard reading that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we do get this. We get this hookup with this individual who you just described it. And the two of them have a really good time. And Mumu ends up saying, I love you a bunch, and not killing this person.
Yeah.
And we never see this person again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we do see that, like, when Mumu does have a really good time, they sometimes leave people alive. If they don't make them walk up 16 flights of stairs. Yeah.
Mm.
And then immediately get in the shower.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even going to look at you. It's, very different energy there.
So that, do we have anything more to comment on that section? Because I didn't have a lot to say aside from what Lee already said there.
Yeah, the book gets progressively harder as we go. Like, it's emotionally, we go from like, alien eating people, American Psycho style, cool, to like, oh man, oh no. Like, emotionally, I feel like
there's a really vulnerable chapter here, 14.5 kilometers, where like there's a
sorry, it's just funny to hear it said out loud.
That's what it is. But but also, like, Jacob, in the sense of like this thing that like is, that makes sense at the time and that you orient your life around, like, may look like completely ridiculous to the outsider. No, there is that element of it. You're correct. But it starts out with this exchange between Mumu and somebody else on this dating app, and they just come out and say, yeah, I'm an alien, my home planet was destroyed, and like this other person just kind of rolls with it, like not really believing them, but like it is that moment of, look, I'm never going to encounter this person, like I might as well just see how I am received.
Yeah, the person's kind of like, haha, then what?
There are things that you tell, like incidental hookups, that you would never tell people who have been in your life for decades.
Mm-hmm. Also, their usernames,
Hot
like,
bottom.
Yeah, it's like hot bottom.
Yeah, that's
looking
suspicious.
for love with zeros.
Yeah.
And Mumu's is hunting for love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is oof every time. Like, yikes. And also, I feel like there's a way that, because we start the book, I think, with them bottoming a lot of the time, that when they do top in a chapter for a second, it's like, oh, that's an option, in a way that I think is purposeful, like, right? But we wait long enough in the text that is kind of a flip of what you might expect, or what expectation we've built on bodies and genders and receptivity,
And Mumu goes to meet up with this dude at a motel somewhere, park outside a motel, and the thing that's like freaks people out about dating apps happens. This person actually was just waiting with a few other people to jump them. This person was not aware they were an alien, but this was the person they were texting, haha, I'm an alien. And so when they start bleeding white blood, the person goes, what the fuck? They were an alien? But like, presumably they're here to either rob them or kidnap them. It's not quite clear what's happening. But bad shit, like, for sure.
Yeah, like gay bashing.
Yeah, or gay bashing. Yeah. And that's it's a gnarly section, and it's also just like the kind of thing that you also fear, like, if you're on like the gay dating apps, or I mean, I know, like, women, of course, also face it on beating up with men on dating apps, things like that. And Mumu, gets attacked, but and could leave their human form, but instead chooses to get their bones broken clinging to their human body as they're smashed. And it fucking hits. Let me see if I can find the quote, or maybe someone else has it.
I got it here. It's very, and in particular, it's especially today in our media environment, it's especially on my mind lately is what visibility means, and how clinging on to it can be quite painful. They are stomping on the masterpiece I slaved over as if they were mincing meat. I am loath to show them the real me. If I'm going to be stomped, I'll be stomped as a human, and if I'm going to die, I'll die as a human. Can you understand the agony of hating humans so much but shoving that hatred aside to look just like one. The desire to become a member of society always overpowers the shame of being embraced by their system. There's nothing worse than having my hideousness incur ridicule or cause some to be struck with fear. I will use every last bit of strength to hold on to my mimicry of humanity.
Yeah.
It's that thing. It's that thing of where, oh, like, would it be easier if I could snap my fingers and be cis? Sure, but a critical part of me would be erased, and a critical part of how I move through the world and discover myself would be erased. And why can't I have acid blood and tell the world, no, you move?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is, even in that moment, is they're like, am I going to die? They're like, well, so are all of you. And I think there's a certain element of the bashback fantasy there also of like, well, you won't get away with it. You might think you can leave, but give it a second. Like, you're covered in my acid blood. Everyone will know what you.
Yeah, that is worth noting, Lee. You're right. You're absolutely right. Like the bit about my blood is not just blood, dear reader. It's acid blood that can dissolve human flesh. Ha ha ha! They all back away. Their eyes will surely be shooting out blood from the pain of their skin melting off. Not their eyes are shooting out blood. Their eyes will surely be shooting out blood. Right? This isn't something that Mumu has access to. It's something that they imagine to be happening. Right? And that's the thing. Like Mumu's so open with us, the reader, about who they are and how they work. Like, if this thing was actually definitively happening, they would tell us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it also very much feels like, you can do what you want to do now. Like, my blood will scream up from the earth. Like, you will be cursed. I mean, we talked about fucking Black Flame last week, right? I thought of that immediately. Like, okay, you're going to kill us all. Like, I promise you what we have built here and the people who come after us and the curse you have laid upon yourself to the 7th generation will return. Like, this thing will be, and is that true? Maybe, maybe not, but it's something that we have to cling to sometimes in a moment.
Sometimes you
like
just have to
Momo's
do
in.
Inglorious Bastards.
Sometimes you just have to do Inglorious Bastards. Absolutely. Well, Mumu does survive. Mumu makes it back. Mumu goes through a recovery period after, I did not expect them to make it back at first because they're passing out next to the train, but they do. And they're like, I'm so tired. I'm so hungry. I'm just going to break my rule and hook up with somebody at like a porta potty that's like a kilometer away from my spaceship.
Yeah, like a public bathroom in
Or
like
public
a park.
bathroom.
Yeah.
Which is such a common cruising place.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
public park bathrooms as a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and the person that they're messaging then is like a top. That's the whole deal. A very tradey kind of top.
And then we get this interesting scene that is, if anyone's done anything like this, very relatable, of this kind of violent thing that is on the edge of consent there, where you see the person and they're like immediately like, all right, bend over, and they grab them and just start fucking them. They're like, this is going to hurt. But also you want it and you're in this gross place and it's not the place you'd like it to be, but also you're not saying, and there's a lot to say. And this book is not about, the complicated nature of cruising and gay culture, and especially
it kind of is
gay culture, but it is not entirely, but like there is that. And that's the part that like stuck out to me, at least just because I'm, dealing with my own experience here, is like, the part where they're just like, I've got my hands on like dead bugs and this guy is just like fucking me. And like, I don't know, like, I guess I did meet him here. So, okay, cool. But also like, what the fuck? And then that guy ends up being another fucking alien.
Many such cases.
Yeah. Well, and there's that moment of hope for like, oh, I won't be alone. But that's not how it turns out.
Yes.
It's like,
right, because you can't you can't always trust in-group people, which is an important thing to remember when you're in a marginalized community.
Well, and this alien is 3 times bigger than Mumu, right? That's something that we specifically see. There is an imbalance of power, even if they are coming from the same place. And, without going into too much detail, like, yeah, I was an 18, 19-year-old interacting with like 55-year-old men in like Midtown Atlanta, closeted gay kid at a Christian high school, had nobody to talk to. So like, I'm learning about like what it is to be gay from these guys who, most of them did not take that responsibility well. They did not. They did bad shit. Whatever. Like I lived, I learned, whatever. I'm not whatever, but like that is a thing that happens in group people. Like there is this advantage that can be taken of that vulnerability. I know I was not eaten by any of them, fortunately. I am still alive, but that is not the case for Moo Moo. Moo Moo gets eaten, I think.
It's also like what is so frustrating about like these endeavors to like keep, stop kids from accessing stuff about sexuality online. Or even this like thing where it's like, oh, it's creepy for a gay adult to talk to a gay teen about sex in this way. But it's like, that is better than this happening, right? Because like that's what's going to happen if you don't have these spaces, if you don't have like safe spaces for exchange of knowledge, right? And it's like that's why it's so frustrating to see all of these like things that are purported to keep kids safe.
Yeah, if you have blocks on your kid's phone so they can't access material and queer stuff, they will use Pinterest to end up DMing with a man a state over and meeting up with them in a motel room. Ask me how I know.
In that way, like looking back, you're like, well, thank God we're here now, because there was no guarantee of that.
Not at all.
Like, I mean, one of my like high school boyfriends, like Sarah, converted when we were like 19, because it's like we didn't know. Like I was super unsafe for all of that time. It's like cool that nothing happened in that way, but it coulda. And you look back and you're like, wow, that was risky. And it's something that I think about more now, even though I still, enjoy my cruising. I enjoy my going out, but the way I do it is not how I did when I was 20 for very obvious reasons. But it's like, you don't know those things then. And I think so much of this book hits like that affective, emotional bit. Like it's not literally about XYZ, about these experiences of disability or transness specifically, but it's hitting what it feels like in those moments. And I think one of the understated ones that gets us to the park bathroom, to where the thing happens that you can't come back from, is like, well, Moo Moo can't take anyone home. And how common that is, like, not just in Asia in a South Korean context, but here, where it's like, what are you supposed to do? You have to go to these strangers' houses. Like you have to meet up here and there. You can't bring anyone back. So like the gay bashing scene, etc. That's also tied to like a community history and a set of feelings and experiences that I think if you're familiar with any handful of them, right? Like everyone's got a different bit, can really resonate with sometimes that bit and then the rest of it. We're like, oh, I understand, like implicitly on this level what this feels like, even though this is a shape-shifting man-eating a serial killer alien and I'm not that. Like I get what this feels like, and there's an extremity to it that I think really lets you access those feelings and kind of work through them in a way I found really productive, even though this book is like deeply upsetting, as everyone listening can gather by this point. Yeah.
Worth reading though, definitely, and it's quick read too.
And the very ending, the text is getting weird as it does. It says, and I'm just going to read the last few sentences. His relentless shadow is glued to me. His arms and legs stretch out like wings. The moonlight is so beautiful. Save me, save me, save me, save me. I've lost the fight. I surrender, I've failed. I am a failure. I'm dying alone. I must tell you my name. It is, okay, I'm going to see if I can say the full one. Mu Hilip Ilip Ilip Lip, I think. Something like that. They call me Moo Moo for short. Cute, isn't it? I am in your care.
And then the last page is 0 kilometers and like sort of a starbursty illustration as if they have winked out of existence.
Yes.
Also, listeners, this book sounds very dark, and it is, but the experience of reading it is not. Like it is you're not going to feel like, you'll feel kind of bad, but like this is a fun book.
Most of it is. I mean, I certainly like felt bad at that part, but like,
oh yeah, for sure. But
like, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of like you know, Moo being like walking up 16 flights of steps and getting mad at like an old lady trying to talk to them, and like, you know, just like them
Moo
like
has a
having
very engaging voice.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very funny. Like
Yeah.
genuinely very, very funny.
I
Like
mean,
that old
even
lady, when they encounter her again on the elevator, they turn away from the camera because she's still being annoying and flash an alien toothface at her and stuff a piece of human meat in her mouth and then
So
walk
sick.
off.
Yeah, that was
while
like
she flips
extremely
out.
Men in Black.
Yeah.
they and even in this last scene as they're dying, they have this this imagination of, oh, what if the two of us mated and we had dozens and dozens of babies and we took over all the earth, like even then, and it's like kind of funny, kind of sad because you know it's fake. But like even then, like this grand imagination, you can tell Moo isn't just like an imaginative species, like a different species. They're like an imaginative member of their species. Like they were probably quirky back on their home planet, you know, and they're like imagining, oh, we're gonna have all these kids, and then we're gonna take our pain out on humans, and then we're gonna chill out, and we're gonna domesticate humans and keep them as pets and livestock. Um, I haven't searched the tags on any fan fiction site, but I'm sure people have gotten to work on that one.
It's called Human Domestication Guide.
Thank you, Lenore. Anyway, I had to throw that out there, that even in those moments, you know, Mumu's imagination is flaring and is beautiful. And now we're in Mumu, like Mumu is in our care.
Mhm.
You
We
know,
love you,
in
Moo Moo.
Yeah.
yeah. So
I don't understand the contention that there's no arc in this book. This book is all arc, right?
Yeah.
This, you know, it's you know, Mumu's such an inhuman character. You know, we can't comprehend like occupying this like bizarrely floral sort of looking being, and yet everything that Mumu experiences is something that we can speak to, right? Like it's this weird thing where like the alienation, the sort of not depersonalization, but like it circles back around to being extraordinarily human by virtue of you. I mean, this is something where you can really transplant yourself into the protagonist in a way that a lot of books claim that you can and that you really can't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a transnational like piece of art too. So we're receiving it like as Americans through this translated forms. There's almost a secondary, like another layer of that alienation from Mumu's voice, and yet it's still working on us in this way.
Mhm.
Like it's distant but close, and I think that's a lot of the cool like work translated queer literature especially does, given queerness as sort of a global cultural, like we're very interconnected, even if our individual experiences are shaped and different by the place that we are at, there's still a shared contextual understanding in the digital age
Yeah.
of like what this means to share these experiences that can be similar yet different across cultural contexts, and the things that we like have in common and can see in each other's work in each other's lives, like across identities, across cultural spaces as queer people, etc. That's very cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
Yeah, like the sort of like the resonance of Moo talking to us as an alien, somebody that is separated from us, and then we're receiving this book separated by language from another person, which is cool.
Mhm.
well, do we have any final thoughts on this before we wrap it up?
I think it's very cool in terms of like my sci-fi nerd writer shit. Like I wish this is what more queer SF was like, and was willing to get into the meat, haha, of it and really think about these affective experiences and get super weird with it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that this was like a self-published book originally also is something that I think is really interesting in a queer publishing context, from like South Korea to the US, and how a lot of times queer art is indie or small press, especially the weird shit. And it's cool when Harper Via wants to pick it up, but you know, there's going to be other stuff like this that needs support and an audience that we could be looking for, getting inventive. I think that's really inspiring. It was inspiring to read this one. I was like, shit, we can do that, which is one of my favorite feelings to have after finishing someone else's book, is like, oh man, I didn't even think about that. I had no idea. So I think that was it's a fun experience to be startled. Like, oh, books can do this thing too.
Absolutely. You got to get weirder. You got to get hornier. You've got to get, whatever is true to you is the actual truth.
More talking about marinating and slicing up balls to eat like sashimi.
If that's true to you, if that's true to your thoughts, like there's like, put the weird shit of yourself into these books.
Hannibal Lecter does that.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I saw someone online. I saw someone online say like, this book like makes queer people look bad. And I'm like, I'm so past giving a shit if queer people look bad.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
y'all already look bad. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Respectable queers look the worst. Like, I'm sorry. Who makes us look worse than like Mayor Pete or somebody like that? Or like a log cabin Republican or like
Fucking
one of these
Brianna
people that like
Wu.
want more war. Yeah, fucking like, yeah, fuck that shit. Like, yeah,
What
no,
is that
absolutely.
tweet? Sorry, you killed all the nice gays. All that's left is us cockroach motherfuckers.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, I'm not gonna be a log cabin Republican or like a fucking Biden Democrat. Like if that's what it's or whatever the South Korean equivalent is. Like,
I'm very
gonna be weird with
over.
it.
I'm very over like the film class 101. Oh, is it problematic that these gay characters are portrayed as monstrous? Is Hellraiser problematic? I'm like, I don't know, who cares?
For
the context.
for a great many people, the concept of like devouring each other or like sucking each other's blood or like whatever other like scarification, like consumption, like what have you, for a great many people, that's hot. That's horny. Ask me how I know.
Yeah,
Also, like
exactly.
the context of, like, it's different. Black Flame, again, the context of who made the thing in the film in Black Flame, right? Like, who's making it? And this is being made by somebody who is engaging with this from an experiential artistic perspective. Like, that's different. Exploring what it feels like to move through the world this way is not bad representation, unless it makes you uncomfortable to have to think about how many other queers do experience the world this way.
I think
Maybe sit with that.
I think I brought this up on this show before, or maybe on a different show that I was on, but I have a friend who once said that, like, she said that she doesn't like the show Hannibal because she doesn't like the idea of straight people watching it and thinking this is what gay people are like. And I was like, first of all, I don't care what straight people think. Second of all, I think it would be awesome if straight people would think that we were going to eat them if they're rude. I think that's awesome.
Strike a little fear in the heart, you know?
I saw, and this is straight up a screenshot of a Tumblr post I saw on Instagram, but I'm still going to read it because sometimes truth is found from a guy named like RTHKO on Tumblr. It's an anonymous post. The original one said, if you want young queers to interact with the queer community, maybe the culture shouldn't be so ridiculous and over the top. And RTHKO on Tumblr said, I would much rather be represented by drag queens, leather daddies, and pups than by petulant cowards afraid of their own reflection. You were talking about people who had never had the option of being seen as normal people who just happen to be gay and channeled, that's in quotes, and channeled their pain into self-expression, community, and art. And who are you? You define yourself not in terms of who you are and what you create, but in terms of who you are not and what you lack. These people you hate only seem larger than life because your life is too small and insignificant to fit them.
Destroyed.
So thank you, random Tumblr post.
Yeah, we're getting into kink at Pride discourse era, boys.
Yes.
Are we ready?
Fuck yeah. Well, we have a live stream Q&A coming up, so you're welcome to ask us our opinions on it, but you may not like them.
I'm myself wanting to be more of a pervert in public all the time these days.
Yes.
You should,
like, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah, I don't think anyone who listens to this podcast for more than an episode could think otherwise.
Well, who knows?
Hey, it's so fun. It's fun to come hang out.
Oh, yeah. Well, Lee, we appreciate you hanging out with us. We appreciate your work so much. You are doing great stuff. If you're interested in the stuff that Lee is doing, we did an episode on one of Lee's books, Woods All Black. That episode came out just a few months ago. You can check that out.
I think it was my first official episode on the show.
It was.
As a
co-host. I think you had guested like 6 times at that point, but it was your official one as a co-host. First one, and it's a banger. I will link places where you can find Lee in the episode description. People should go get his work. Also get Amplitudes, which Lee edited. Aisha is featured in.
Yeah.
Lee, am I missing anything?
I think those are the big ones. There's also, a thematic connection. If you find yourself being like, wow, shape-shifting and eating people who maybe deserve it. There's a hint for Woods All Black.
If you're like, damn, wish that was happening in America, not in South Korea. I've got good news. It can happen here too.
Yeah, I wish that was happening 100 years ago specifically.
Yes, God, if only that was happening in 1929.
Yeah.
Well, Lee, again, we super appreciate you. Folks, do we have any final thoughts?
Jacob, I couldn't help but think of, that Tumblr post you were sharing just now. From page 68 of this book. People are busy avoiding me up close and pointing at me from afar. My gait has quickly become the object of ridicule and horror. Am I wrong? It would be great if I was. I understand their hearts 100,000 times over. For them, life is so boring that if someone doesn't walk with ease, taking steady steps on 2 healthy legs of the same length, they violently overreact as if they were waiting for it. I think their bar for reactions is pretty low. They can't wait to ogle a monster. Without monsters, how would they withstand the unrelenting futility of their days? Folks, be a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And come to our live stream tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to come. This episode's coming out on Monday. It's going to come out if you're listening to it on Monday or during the day Tuesday, live stream, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, for patrons. You can join for $3. $3, which is, you can't get anything for $3 nowadays. You can't even get a cup of coffee.
It's true. A freaking cup of coffee. And I will say also, if you're listening to this after the fact, you're like, oh shit, I missed it. We're going to post it as a video episode. So don't even worry. Don't even sweat it. But if you're on there live,
you can ask us questions.
We can ask a question. We like you 5% more. So there we go.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Pages upon pages, words of wisdom from other workers' brow. Got my nose to the spine, not soaking up all the wisdom of their will allow. The workers' tongue and stories, how we want to know every right we enjoy. Away from the lights, away from the noise, we can rebuild everything they destroy. Workers need a worker.